Hi, welcome back to 30 Days of Going Inside because you can't go outside. And today is day 4 and it's all about meaning. There's a famous quote by Mark Twain which says that the 2 most important days of your life are the day that you're born and the day you find out why. And the why is what we're going to be focusing on in today's video. We sometimes say, don't we, or we sometimes hear that we really come into contact with what matters when something bad happens, when something scary happens, either perhaps we're in an accident or we get sick. It sort of brings things into sharp focus. And it's clear that for a lot of us, the current situation with coronavirus is doing that for us. It's helping us really stop and think what matters. Suddenly, when loads of things are taken away from us and our life is sort of stripped down a bit, we start to question a bit perhaps about the lives that we were leading before this and really focus on what matters. So to that extent, maybe COVID-19, coronavirus is doing this for us. It's helping us think about our why. Why am I here? What is it that really matters? So when we call these things that matter to us, we're going to use the word values. So what are our values? What is it we want to stand for? And I'm just going to talk for a minute about the difference between a value and a goal. So a value is something that, let's imagine I'm in a rowing boat and I'm in the middle of the sea and it's very foggy and I can't really see which direction to go in. I know I'm kind of like, I need to keep moving, but I'm not really sure which direction to go in. Our values are a bit like a lighthouse on the land in the distance, and the lighthouse is sort of shining a light. And through the mist, I can see this light, and it's telling me to keep rowing, but to row in that direction. So as I move towards this value of kindness, I might set myself some goals that would help me feel that I was moving in that direction. So at the moment, I might give some money to the NHS, or I might go and do some shopping for an elderly neighbour. And these are all the things that would be goals that I can cross off my list and say, I've done that now, I've ticked that off my list. But the value, we can't ever cross that off our list. We can't ever say, tick to kindness, don't have to worry about that one anymore, done that. It's something that's always there and it's always our guide. And it helps us sort of navigate and stay on track when we're feeling a bit lost. And just as we were talking yesterday about balance, we also need to think about balance when we're thinking about our values. It can be helpful to think about life as existing within certain domains. And this slide shows you just a version of how we might look at life in this way. So you can see there's different areas of our life, like community or work, fun and leisure stuff, and also relationships. There's lots of different areas that we can focus on. And what we need balance between those areas. And we need to explore what is it that gives our life meaning in each of these areas. Now, COVID-19 has kind of probably tipped us all a little bit out of balance in the area of our values as well. That through this situation that we're all in, I'm going to use the example how some of us and some people that I know and some people that I'm living with have had their work taken away from them. They're just not able to do the jobs that they were doing. And this can make us feel ever so out of kilter. But what I want to show you on this slide is that if we really think about the values that are there in our work at a time like this, so what is it that work meant to me? Where was my meaning in my work? Then we can still find ways, even though we may not be able to physically do our work, to stay connected with those values. So for example, if work is about challenge or achieving or learning and growing, and then suddenly you can't physically go to work anymore, then how can I stay connected with those values? So what can I do today that's about setting myself a challenge, about learning and growing and developing and getting that sense of achievement? And a lovely example of this is my friend who is a photographer. So she was doing an amazing project. Her name is Fran Monks. You can go and look at it online, called the Hug Project, where she was bringing together people who had quite different views and inviting them to hug and taking photos of these lovely kind of moments where people came together. And of course, in the middle of COVID-19, suddenly this project had to come to an abrupt halt because the last thing you can do at the moment is hug or touch. So she could have just sort of said, okay, well, I can't do that anymore, so I'm just going to give up on work for a while. I'm a photographer, I photograph people, can't do that. But she's done this amazing thing where she's now taking pictures of people through Skype. So she's still connecting with people, and she's turned this whole thing into a project that if my work is about creativity and about connecting with others and about spreading important messages, how can I do this even in the context of COVID-19? And the photos are just as poignant, if not more so. So that's a lovely example of how she stayed in contact with her values, even in the context of a situation where it might take something away and make things feel very challenging. So what I'm going to invite you all to do with me now in the last few minutes of this video is to tune into one of those life domains, and we're going to choose relationships. So I'm going to invite you to think about who really matters to you. So if you've got a pen and some paper nearby, then maybe you want to write this down. Maybe it doesn't feel right to write it down, and then just think about it. So just think, who really matters to me? It might be family members, it might be friends, it might be your pet. And then perhaps choose one person from that list, and maybe choose somebody where you're aware that things aren't quite the way you want them to be. Don't choose somebody where there's a massive kind of rift in your relationship, but just choose something where perhaps you're aware that maybe you're not quite connecting with that person in the way you want to. And I want you to ask yourself, what are the values in that relationship? What is the meaning? What's the why? What is it that you want to embody in that relationship? So, for example, if it's your sister or your brother, what sort of sister do I want to be? And sometimes I ask myself, if I heard that person talking about me as a sister, what is it I would want to hear them say? Like, what sort of sister do I want to be? Not what sort of sister am I being, because that's often very far, sadly, from the one I would choose to be. But if I really got to be that sister, or that mum, or that friend, or that daughter, that deep down I want to stand for, what are the values that I would be moving towards? And I'm just going to put up here some images of some word things that you might find prompt you and help you. And you can come back to these afterwards and look at all the life domains to explore these types of words and values. But just see if that helps you if you're struggling. And like I said, you can come back to these because I think they're super helpful. And then when you've found a couple of values about the sort of sister or mother or friend or brother that you want to be, just take a moment and see if that was your compass direction. So for me, maybe it would be about being supportive. If that's the sort of compass direction that I want to move towards, the light that's flashing in the distance, what would be a goal that I could do that would help me know that I was moving in that direction? And I'm just going to leave you with this lovely idea that sometimes the thing that really kind of brings this into focus for me is when I ask myself, if I watched a video of your day, Louise, would I be able to tell from watching that video who really matters to you? Who's really important? Because if you can't see it on the video of your day, then it's only staying on the inside. You're just thinking about this stuff. And we want to, well, it's where life happens is on the outside. The bit that happens is on the video. So just think about that person that you've chosen in that relationship domain and think about something you could do that would help you nudge towards your values, and see if you can set yourself a goal to do. And also just think, I'm very aware that some of you will be in situations where you might previously, before this sort of shutdown and lockdown, have gone and met this person, or gone and bought them something, or done something much more active, just gone and met them for a walk. I'm very aware that we can't do that at the moment. So we're going to have to be a lot more creative. Just like my friend, the photographer, Fran, we've got to be creative, but stay in contact with the value. Okay, so that's a whistle-top store of values and meaning, and I hope it's been helpful. And I would urge you all to look at the other domains in that first slide and start looking at balance and start thinking about, are there some domains where perhaps I'm really connecting with my values and some areas of my life where perhaps I'm not, and is there balance? If you've got young children at home at the moment, you could use the coat of arms exercise. You might ask them to draw the coat of arms that stands for their own values, and they can draw pictures on it. Or you could think of a coat of arms that would represent your whole family and the sort of values that you stand for as a family. Another thing you can do together is you could write down some valued words on a piece of paper and put them in a bowl, and then each day pull one out and see if you can all form an intention to move in the direction of that value during the day. You could even sort of see if you can guess. You could also, as a family, write down the names of some values or qualities on bits of paper and put them in a bowl, and each day take one out and see if you can form a commitment together to do something that day in the service of that value. And as you're doing this task between now and tomorrow, you can use these wonderful images from some values cards by somebody called Louise Hayes. And they've got some values and images which I hope will be helpful in guiding you in thinking about this. Please pause the video as you look at the images if you need to dwell on them a bit longer, and you can also go back and use the values list in the previous slides. So good luck doing that. Have fun with it. Feelings might show up, and tomorrow we're going to be looking at feelings and how we can be more open to them. See you tomorrow.